Praise the Lord, everybody. This is Deacon William Hawks, also known as El Presidente, here at Gospel 88.7 FM and 100.3 FM Atlantic City, where we have gospel. And yes, we're still spreading the gospel one song at a time. We want to thank God for all of our listeners who continue to pray for us and support us. Oftentimes, I'm walking down the street and someone asks, Deacon Hawks, El Presidente, I want to help. I want to get involved. I want to do my part. And they say, how can I do that? And I say, you know something? You can log onto our website and participate in our 8 for 88.7. That's right, 8 for 88.7. That's where we ask you to get involved, and you can support us by just donating $8 a month. How do you do that? You just go to our website, www.wehavegospel.com, press the donate button, and just simply support us with $8 a month. It's that simple. Once again, just go to www.wehavegospel.com, click the donate button, and follow the instruction. There you go. It's as simple as that. And once again, we thank you from all of us here at Gospel 88.7 FM and 100.3 FM, where we have gospel and where we're spreading the gospel one song at a time. God bless you.
Strength for the journey, always enough. When I am lonely, you're there. Everything I need, love all around me. You'll never leave me alone. When I'm ready to give, Lord, you won't let me go. You keep holding me. When I'm ready to give, Lord, you won't let me go.
Gospel 88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City. And now on FM translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City.
Hey, you like football? I know you like football. You're looking for a place to watch the Super Bowl? Well, we got you a place to watch some dark football. WEHA's gonna hook you up because Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM WEHA, We Have Gospel presents the Sunday Super Bowl Buffet. That's right, it's a buffet going down where you can watch the Super Bowl and eat your favorite foods. It's a large buffet of heavy appetizers and desserts, assorted juices, sodas, punch, and plenty of H2O. It's even going to have some halftime games and giveaways. You know when it's happening, Super Bowl Sunday. That's right, Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. Doors open at 5 p.m. Kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. at the Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. Admission is $20 per person, $10 for children 12 and under. And you better RSVP because it's limited seating. You want tickets? Do you want tickets? I said, do you want tickets? The number to call is 609-641-8870. Or you can get your tickets at wehavegospel.com. Super Bowl Sunday, you gotta be at Beacon Hall to see the big game. Of course, we're rooting for the Eagles around here. We're so happy that they got farther than Dallas this year.
WEHA, Christ-centered, community-focused. Deacon William Hawks, President. WEHA is a listener-supported radio station. To make a donation, call 609-641-8870. Visit our headquarters at 3 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234. Or log on to our website, wehavegospel.com.
We have gospel.
If you just tune in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. We are live in the studio today, and we have a wonderful program. Certainly, if you would like to call us, if you have questions during our programming, you can call us at 609-641-8870. This broadcast is being brought to you by the Hawks Family Businesses, who have been serving our community for over 30 years, and Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. And also, Grace Tabernacle Church, Bishop Wandell Johnson and Pastor Gloria Johnson. Thank you so much, and James Adams, for supporting In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. So I'm really happy for all of my sponsors for this month. Certainly, I want to say it's Dr. Martin Luther King's weekend this weekend, and certainly his birthday was on the 15th. And but this is the only national African American holiday in America. So I do not work on that holiday because we want to, unless I'm doing service, celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I have a few quotes that he would say, some of my favorite ones. Everyone has the power for greatness. Not for fame, but greatness is determined by service. Another quote, to ignore evil is to become an accomplice to it. And one more quote, life's most persistent and urgent question, what are you doing for others? Dr. Martin Luther King. Oh my goodness, he was a phenomenal man and certainly ahead of his time, and he done a whole lot in his 39 years of living. Everybody can't be a Dr. King, but we can all do something to make the world to be a better place to live in. I want to update you on a few things that are going on in our community. The Atlantic City Women's March was scheduled to start at 10:30 a.m. on New Jersey Avenue, but it has been moved inside due to the threat of inclement weather. So there will be going straight to the Boardwalk Hall. So if you're interested in going to the Women's March, it will be AC Women's March because there are women marches going all over the country. The main one is in Washington, D.C., which I've had an opportunity to go along with many other women and men from our area. We went to the first one, and I was there a couple years ago, but it was so refreshing to have one right here in our area so you didn't have to travel. All right, so if you're not doing anything, certainly we want you to go by and support the AC Women's March. Also on today, it's called Soup Day. And that's going to be held at the Refuge Church of Christ, 520 West Washington Avenue in Pleasantville. The number is 609-641-7730. And they are serving soup, sandwiches, crackers, and hot chocolate. It's all free from 11 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. The pastor is Woodrow McKenzie, certainly one of my supporters of WEHA and in the community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. So it is very, very free. And all you got to do is show up. And I want you to know that they can cook. Now, every place you go, every church, the people can cook. Ooh, sometimes you got to put a napkin over top of it. But Refuge, they can cook. All right, they can cook. So if you know anyone that needs a nice lunch, have them to go right on over to Refuge Church of Christ. You know what? And what I like about it is so many people are saying, I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I can't do what Sister Jean Kitchen does or the Rescue Mission does, but everybody can do something. And whatever that is, it still helps. So if you know someone who needs a nice meal, tell them about going over to Refuge Church of Christ. It takes nothing away for any of the food programming or anything that you're doing in your local community. Also on Monday, the Atlantic City NAACP will have their annual MLK March. They're going to gather at 10 a.m. at the Martin Luther King Complex and start marching at 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And they march to the Civil Rights Garden. And then they come back to St. James AME Church. And Reverend Pastor Natasha Melton, the pastor of Asbury, will be the guest speaker on Monday at 12 noon. Now, also, Mount Zion Baptist Church, they are having their MLK program in Pleasantville. And this year, they've added a new component. They're going to march after their service from 1:30 p.m. from the church to the Pleasantville City Hall. So that's a different piece. Reverend Willie Francois is also a MLK commissioner. Also, Stephanie Dixon, who's in Iowa right now working a campaign. She's a commissioner for the Martin Luther King Commission in New Jersey. So whatever you can do, whether you can go to Atlantic City or Pleasantville or to any other day that's celebrating Martin Luther King, certainly you want to be a part of that. Also on Thursday, the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and that's going to be from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., which is January the 23rd, 2020. This is open to adults. It's free, but registration is required. Kathy Tabasco presents Rescue on the Mountain, the French village who defied the Nazis. Now, this is going to be held at the Atlantic County Library in Summers Point, 801 Shore Road, Summers Point, New Jersey. For more information, you can call 609-927-7113. This is a free event, but you have to register if you would like to attend. Also, come and join us for the big game, Gospel of WEHA 88.7 FM on Sunday, February the 2nd. The doors are going to open at 5:30. The kickoff will be at 6:30 p.m. at the Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue in Egg Harbor City. Sunday Super Bowl buffet. Sunday Super Bowl buffet, and they have a large buffet of heavy appetizers and desserts, assorted juices, sodas, punch, and plenty of water, H2O. Halftime game giveaways. This is a fundraiser. It's $20 per person, and for adults $10 for children 12 and under. And you have the RSVP because the seating is limited, and you can watch the game on a huge HD screen, so you don't have to go to the bar if you don't drink. You can go right over to Beacon Hall. I went last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. The food was very good. Now, they can cook too. They have very good cooks, and I wouldn't say it if it wasn't good. I would just say they having food. But for your tickets, you can call 609 and 641-8870 Monday through Friday, or you can go to the website www.wehavegospel.com/events and purchase your ticket that way. So if you're looking for something to do on Super Bowl Sunday, come and join us with WEHA for Sunday Super Bowl buffet. I can't wait to see who's going to the Super Bowl. Of course, I wanted the Eagles to go, but they didn't make it. They got knocked out. But I'm telling you, there's been some phenomenal games going on. Kansas City Chiefs came back. The 49ers look good. Yes, I do more than preach and sing. I watch football too. Okay? All right. So, certainly, it'll be very interesting to see who goes to the Super Bowl. No matter what, whoever wins, I'm going to be watching the Super Bowl on February the 2nd. The Lord's will, if he gives me breath to breathe, I will be watching the Super Bowl. So come and join us at WEHA and be a part of the Super Bowl event. I'm excited to have guests in the studio that I've known for some time. They're not a stranger to my radio show, in the persons of Bernard and Brenda McCain. They are the regional directors for the One Stop Taxes. All right, now listen, Northeast Regional Director, LLC. All right, I thought it would be good to bring some information on taxes because this is the time that most of us are applying for our taxes and to get our refunds. Now, just in case you don't know who they are, I want them to introduce themselves first, and they have all of the updates on the laws and how things have changed, how you can benefit. So this is a good show. So if you're listening and you know someone, call them up and say, tune in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma so you can hear about income taxes. All right? Yes. All right, so Bernard and Brenda McCain, say something about yourself to my listening audience.
Yes, I'm going to let my wife go ahead and start. Wonderful wife.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here on the program. Thank you, Dr. Thelma, for allowing us this opportunity to educate our community about the new tax laws. We have One Stop Taxes has been in the business for about 11 years now. We are the fastest growing income tax prep business in the industry, and we're proud to say that. Our CEO and founder, Moby Rowan, I am so proud of him. He's not even 40 years old yet.
Wow.
Yeah, and a wonderful family man, very personable, very humble, and very grateful. He's grateful to God for what God has done for the company. He shows appreciation to all the store owners, just a wonderful company to be in. And one thing that makes us, well, there's several things, but one of the main things that makes us different is that we take time to get the maximum amount for the customers. We had someone to work from us that was with one of the well-named companies, and her mouth fell open. I was showing her how I was doing return. Her mouth just dropped open, and I said, "What?" She said, "We were never allowed to spend this much time on anybody's income tax form." And I said, "That's because we want to leave not a dime on the table for our customers."
Absolutely. You don't want to, and so many people leave money because they don't know about the money that they are entitled to have a part of their refund. Because we pay plenty of taxes, especially in the state of New Jersey.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
So we thank you for that information. So the company's been in business for 11 years, so it's not a fly-by-night, basically, and you and your husband are the Northeast Regional directors for the One Stop Tax. It's right in Pleasantville, 927 North Main Street, Suite B1 in Pleasantville.
Yes, I've been with the company for the total 11 years, and I knew the owners before they even started this company. And one of the things I want to say, my wife so wonderfully said it concerning them, but I'm also an apostle, and so they call me bishop in the organization. But there's a certain level of integrity that I have noticed in the company ever since I've been with. That's why I went with them, because of a certain level of integrity that's been maintained. And for that reason, what the IRS has done is allowed us to be a hub. And what that means is that we are able to start January 2nd filing taxes.
Okay, now I'm glad that you said that, because on the website, y'all know I do my homework.
Yes.
On the website, it tells everybody that you cannot. Well, it doesn't say you cannot file. It says that January the 27th.
They will start accepting.
The IRS will start accepting.
Exactly. Except for us.
For the refunds.
Except for us.
Or except for One Stop.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you need it now, you don't have to wait to January 27th.
You don't have to wait. They're already accepting from us.
Really?
And the reason being is that we, as my wife said, is that we are very detailed in what we do. So what they do is every year the IRS use our company as a training ground for their new tax people that's coming in, to show them how it should be done. So we start January 2nd accepting last payment stubs from our previous customers.
So now you don't have to have your
W-2s,
your W-2.
1099s. You can come
with your last
pay stub.
Last pay stub.
Yes, ma'am. And we can go ahead and start to give you a free tax quote. And let me say that again. It is a free income tax quote that, and we tell people you can compare. Like, you've been using Aunt Susie, Uncle Joe, my cousin do my taxes, I do my own taxes. And we say, well, why not compare? Because inevitably, about 95% of the time, we can get you more money because we're just that detailed and we're up on the new tax laws. They're so extensive that people don't take the time to really look at them and check them out, and they just go by what they've been doing. And so I'm going to get into that in a few minutes, that there's a lot of things that people don't realize that they're leaving a lot of money on the table. So we are a hub. We are accepting now. They are accepting our filings, but also we're handing out checks, advances.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because
providing advances for folks. I mean, we did one the other day, $6,000 advance.
Okay, now I was going to ask you that, because on the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, it says that you can start filing. They are accepting January 27th, right?
Yes.
And it would take 3 weeks if you file electronically.
Exactly, 21 days.
21 days, right? Up to 21 days.
Yes, ma'am.
If you are not up to date and you're still doing the paper, it's going to take longer.
Yes, ma'am. It sure does. It sure does.
For you to receive your refund. So now, if you want to do the paper because you're just not comfortable doing it electronically, you can still do that, but don't expect to get it in a 21-day period.
You're correct.
Right? Is that right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. You are correct. It could take like 45 days or longer, because typically, you got the snail mail, first of all, so it has to get there. Then, by being paper, they have to upload the information on the system, where that takes longer. So actually, your filing gets put at the bottom of the pile, because if it's electronic, all they have to do is hit a few buttons and it's done.
Right.
It's easier for them to do the electronic. Now, filing electronic costs more, because you have the bureau fees, and you have bank transfer fees and so forth. So people say, well, listen, I don't want to pay those fees.
Right.
So I want to just go ahead on and file by mail.
Now, the fees can be if you want it in a rush.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
so if you go just regular
mail.
regular Electronic filing.
It's still, the fees are the same.
It's whether
ma'am.
you get it
Yes,
in
ma'am.
advance or not.
Correct.
Because I do know at what was H&R, they used to have one fee, but if you needed a rush, then they charged you another fee. Now I know they got sued too.
Yes, they got sued. So right. So the way it works is that they weren't supposed to do that. Now, what we offer is, as I said, in advance. If you need money quick, then that's why they came out with the advances. And so the advances are based on the bank's approval. We have nothing to do with that, meaning that once we put you in for the advance, then it's between you and the bank, and they determine your approvability.
All right. So when we're talking about an advance, we're talking about before the 21 days.
A
Yes, ma'am.
cash advance.
A cash advance
Yes, ma'am.
before the 21 days.
Correct. So you can receive a check, we have cards, or you can have it direct deposited.
Or either or. So there's
Yes,
three
ma'am.
different ways
Yes,
that you can receive it. Through your bank account,
Yes.
through a hard check,
Yes, ma'am. And we
Or
provide this at the office if you're local.
or a credit, like something like a debit card.
Yes, net spending.
And and then you put the money can be applied to that.
Yes, ma'am. And if you decide to go either route, as far as if you go with the card, with the advance, then the remainder of balance of your refund would have to go on that card. If you choose direct deposit, then that's the same thing. Whatever you choose, you get the advance if you're approved, and then also your balance of your refund would come on direct deposit or either by check.
Okay. Another question I wanted to ask you is about earned income credit.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because a lot of people really don't know what that means at all. So, what is earned income credit, and how do people qualify for earned income credit?
Well, basically, earned income credit has to do with head of household or those who have children, okay? And it has changed just slightly. The child tax credit stayed basically almost the same, $2K per child until the age of 17. So that's where you get your earned income credit from, as far as if you are doing head of household or even single, but you have children. Now, what happens is that a lot of people may have 4, 5, 6 kids. They only allow 3.
Right. You can only claim 3.
Claim 3.
Right,
$2,000 per child.
Right.
And then that graduates down as the child grows. Then, people say, well, last year I got this amount for the child. Well, the child's 1 year older, and it keeps graduating down.
Let me ask you this question. If they are 17, are they still a part of the earned income credit?
Yes, ma'am, 17.
But once they turn 18?
18, no, but if they're in school, they could go to college. If they
Right.
continue on to college for 4 years, they can stay on their parents' or their guardian's tax.
As earned income credit?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, can you have more than one head of household in the same household?
No, you cannot.
Okay, so.
The only way that you can do that is if you are splitting everything in half. If everything has to be split in half, if you're doing head of household in 2 homes, okay, in 1 home. So it has to be split right down the middle. They can do that.
Like the utilities,
Yes,
everything.
everything has to be split
The
right down
mortgage,
the middle. Everything has to
everything.
be split down the middle.
Well, how can you prove that?
Well, you have to show. You have to show documentation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Those are the things you can show, that I paid this, he paid that, she paid this, or whatever.
Okay.
Documentation has to be proven.
Documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at one point, the medical, you had to have show that you had medical for people for the household. Now, I think that was done away with. I don't know if that's one of the new laws.
Well, it
was amended.
No. What happens with that is $10,000, meaning this is that if you're almost dead and you are basically, if it's 10%, put it this way, it's 10%, of your total income. Meaning if it goes past 10%, let's just say if you made $100,000, okay?
Right.
And your medical expenses out of pocket came out to $12,000. Now you can. But if it's less than 10%, you cannot use it.
You cannot use it.
Amen.
But you have to have it, right? At one point, you had to have medical insurance because if
you're talking about medical insurance. I thought you were talking about payments. No. You're talking about Obamacare.
Well,
Okay, let's talk
affordable health care.
Health Care Act. Now, let me talk about that. I thought you was talking about as far as out of pocket expenses for medical expenses.
No.
You're talking about the requirement. Now, they still have Obamacare, as they call it, but there's no penalty anymore.
Okay.
They still will submit and provide you with a 1095, A, B, or C, but you're not going to be penalized if you do not have insurance anymore. And I've seen somebody's tax might be $6,000, and then all of a sudden you come to the end and they don't have that health insurance, and it drops down $600 to $700.
Right.
Previous years. But now that started last year, actually.
Right.
That was dropped last year.
Right.
That
was a good thing.
That was a good thing.
That was one good thing that the president done.
Yeah, he did. Well, it's a couple of things we're going to talk about that he did.
Yeah, that was a good thing. And now some things I can't agree with.
I agree.
But this particular piece,
yes, ma'am,
was a good piece that he did do. So if you're not penalized if you don't have actual medical insurance.
Correct. Health insurance.
Health insurance is what I meant. If you don't have health insurance,
correct,
you're not penalized. So that law changed, 2017?
2018.
2018.
Yes, ma'am.
That law changed. So that was one of the laws that changed.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, which is a benefit. But you can still show now, do you get a deduction for the health insurance you do have?
No.
No. It's just that you're no longer penalized.
Not unless you're a business owner and you use that as part of your business, and then you can provide that. You can say, okay, well, I pay health insurance and so forth. But no, not this individual tax. Okay.
All right, so the only thing with the affordable health care did was that if you did not have it, it was in the law that you had to pay a penalty previously by
up until 2017.
Up until 2017, and that's one thing that President Donald D. Trump eliminated.
Yes.
Now, I didn't want him to eliminate all of the health care, but the penalty piece, I thought was a good law.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that's one law that changed. Now, what else? We got a few minutes before we go into our break. Give us another law that was changed.
Actually, they made the W-4s. That's what you fill out to determine your deductions and exemptions when you start a new job. And so, when you start a new job, they give you that W-4. They made that simpler. And so that's a great thing because it's kind of complicated. We had people to come in and say, well, listen, I'm trying to fill this out, but I don't know how to show exemptions or how to do that. They made that simpler.
And by what? What do you mean?
Well, simpler meaning that to understand. Simple to understand how to fill in the form. They made it real simple. That's all.
Now, I always put in 0.
Right.
Because I always made seem like too much, which I don't consider.
But you're saying they consider.
They consider it a lot. So I would always put in 0, trying to make sure that the right amount of taxes was being taken out. But sometimes I found out last year that still wasn't enough. So what can people do even if they're filing 0, but it's still not enough? What can they do?
Well, it's not much you can do because, 0 is it. 0 is it.
But I mean, can you pay?
There's a line on that that say that you can pay $10, $20. Tell them to take out more. Now, but the thing about that is you want to think this: why would a person want to give the government their money? Let them hold the money. Here, I want to give you an extra $20, okay, per paycheck, an extra $50 for you to hold,
right,
until I get my refund. No. So just put your 0 and keep trucking.
Put the 0.
Yes, ma'am.
And keep moving.
And keep moving.
And keep moving.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all you gotta do.
I gotta do.
All right. You have something? Down.
Schedule C.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Schedule C. Well, we got about a minute and some change.
Okay. My wife mentioned Schedule C. One of the things that make us an outlier as far as the other tax companies is that we specialize in Schedule Cs, which is a business. That's your business, home-based business, self-employed business, or any kind of business.
Now, that's another incentive that the president, if you have a business, you can get some money. You can save some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Or get some money back. Now, how much are we talking about?
Well, people say, well, Donald Trump does not pay taxes. And he says, well, that makes me smart. Well, it doesn't make him smart. It makes his accountants smart. Mm-hmm. The tax laws are set up for business owners, okay? It's not set up for individuals that just get a W-2 or 1099. So the tax laws are geared to give any and all benefits for tax people who own business. Now, and people say, well, I don't have a business. I had to ask my wife. I met my wife because I'm giving a little information here.
Well, you know what? You got to hold that thought.
I got to hold that.
You got to hold that thought because we getting ready for a break. And you know they have a song, Hold My Mule. Hold that thought. We'll be right back. We're getting ready for a commercial break. We're talking here with Bernard and Brenda McCain from One Stop Taxes. Keep it locked.
Hey, you like football? I know you like football. You're looking for a place to watch the Super Bowl? Well, we got you a place to watch some dark football. WEHA's gonna hook you up because Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM WEHA, we have Gospel presents the Sunday Super Bowl Buffet. That's right, it's a buffet going down where you can watch the Super Bowl and eat your favorite foods. It's a large buffet of heavy appetizers and desserts, assorted juices, sodas, punch, and plenty of H2O. It's even gonna have some halftime games and giveaways. You know when it's happening. Super Bowl Sunday. That's right. Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. Doors open at 5 p.m. Kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. at the Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. Admission is $20 per person, $10 for children 12 and under. And you better RSVP because it's limited seating. You want tickets? Do you want tickets? I said, do you want tickets? The number to call is 609-641-8870. Or you can get your tickets at wehavegospel.com. Super Bowl Sunday, you gotta be at Beacon Hall to see the big game. Of course, we're rooting for the Eagles around here. We're so happy that they got farther than Dallas this year.
WEHA, Christ-centered, community-focused, Deacon William Hawks, President. In the Bible, it is written, where there is no vision, people perish. Proverbs 29:18. On that principle, Visions, Mount Laurel's first multicultural hair salon, was founded. Whether you are looking for a precision cut, color, permanent wave, relaxer, braids, locks, or extensions, you can count on Visions' talented and professionally trained staff to turn your vision into a reality within 2 hours. That's right, Vision stylists get you in and out and can complete most hairstyles within 2 hours. Open Tuesday through Saturday, Vision's Hair Salon accepts walk-ins and is conveniently located at 127 Ark Road off Route 38 in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, with flexible hours to accommodate you. If you are a licensed hair technician looking to expand your client base within a thriving multicultural salon that has served a diverse clientele for the past 20 years, Visions wants to talk to you about employment opportunities now available within the salon. For more information or appointments, you can reach Visions Hair Salon at 856-642-7211. That's 856-642-7211. Or you can log on to visionshairsalon.com. Visions Hair Salon, where your style is premium and your time is precious.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to a pop concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I have a soft pretzel.
Or B, just roll with it?
Just dance.
God! OMG! I love you, Justin! I love you!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hawks Janitorial Contractors Corp. was established in 1987 by husband and wife team William and Elaine Hawks. Our motto is a great job at a fair price. The Hawks team is skillful, customer-focused, delivering quality janitorial services that meet and exceed our clients' specific needs. Hawks Janitorial Contractors Corp., proud sponsors of Gospel 88.7 FM. For more information, 609-484-0452.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? Amid the chaos? Or is the best time perhaps today? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait.
You are listening to Christ Center, community-focused, listener-supported gospel. 88.7 and 100.3 FM, Atlantic City WEHA. Don't forget to follow us on social media by searching We Have Gospel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Find out more at www.wehavegospel.com.
The Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour, Power to the People, talking about the power of the people of Atlantic City, a platform for people to discuss ideas of the community, creating an all-inclusive environment where people of Atlantic City can actively participate in the economic revitalization of Atlantic City's future. This forum will focus on black and white capitalism, working together to create red, white, and blue capitalism. Every Monday from 5 to 6 p.m. on WEHA 88.7 and 100.3 FM. WeHaveGospel.com. The Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour. Power to the people.
If you just tune in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. This broadcast has been brought to you by the Hawks family businesses who have been serving our community for over 30 years. And also Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories, and Grace Tabernacle Church, Bishop Wandell Johnson and Pastor Gloria Johnson and James Adams. Thank you so very much for sponsoring In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. So we're going to continue our conversation. We're talking about, it's tax season, it's tax time. The laws have changed. There's some things that you could probably benefit from. And I wanted to make sure that my listening audience was well aware of what you could do to get the maximum refund that you could get. So with that being said, we have my guest who's not a stranger to our area or our community, and the person of Bernard and Brenda McCain. Now, when we left, I told him to hold that thought, hold the mood right here. He was talking about how he met his wife.
Yes.
All right, now we can continue.
Okay, so I met my wife, and she tells a story a little bit different and a little bit more exciting. But she finally got to my office after deleting my messages about 4 or 5 times because she didn't know who I was. She was going to go to another tax office to get her taxes done. The IRS said that she owed $1,500, and so she had fear and so forth. She didn't know what she was going to do, so she finally showed up to my office. And when she showed up, she was kind of disheveled because she almost missed the appointment, rushed. She was cleaning the house, came in, she rushed in with just whatever on, whatever on her head.
But you saw something.
But I saw something in her as far as in the spirit realm. That's how I met her. But what I'm saying is, but initially it was just for the taxes. Okay, so what happened is that. As we were doing the taxes and everything, I asked her, well, do you have a business? Because that's what we were talking about earlier. And so she said no. And so as we began to talk, and she was just rambling on, and so I said, you sure you don't have a business? No, I don't have no business. And so I asked her 4 times before she finally said, oh, that's right. I do have a business. And that's what we do, because we know that everybody has a business, because if you exchange a service for money.
That's a business.
For cash, you conducted business. Did you use your phone? Yes, I used my phone. Were they in my home? Yes. Did you have electricity on? Yes, I did. So, so those things, there are certain expenses that you can automatically deduct, a certain percentage, that is, of your expenses that you can conduct or deduct when you have a business. And so a lot of people leave a lot of money on the table. We've talked about reducing your adjusted gross income.
Right.
And so that's one way in which we are an outlier to others that don't ask those questions and persist. Because sometimes, most of the time, it's an average of maybe 3 times asking before a customer actually says, you're right. I did cut grass for like 5 or 6 times, and I got paid. I did this for this time, and I did that, so forth. So if you conducted any kind of business, you come see us, and we will make sure you get more money than you usually have been getting.
Now, when you say that, are you saying that the person doesn't have to be a part of a company?
They do not have. You are a company.
You are a company.
You are a company. Most people don't even realize that you're all cap. I don't want to get into this, but anyway, you're all cap letters. Everything that comes to you in business, you're all capitalized. Your name is capitalized, which means that you are a corporation and you don't even know it.
Wow.
Your Social Security card, all caps. Your checks, all caps. Everything has to do, when they send you your bill, it's all caps. Nothing has with lowercase. You are a corporation in yourself. The United States of America is a corporation. People don't even realize that. But so what I'm saying is that the IRS is all, so you don't have to have even a name for your business. Okay, you are that corporation. And it's just that the IRS knows this. We don't know this.
And your business does not have to be registered.
Yes, it doesn't have to be
I was
registered.
going to ask you that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have an EIN. It does not have to have EIN. Okay, Tupperware. Let's just say if you were selling Tupperware.
So you were selling Tupperware.
You don't need EIN. You don't have to have an EIN number. You don't have to have business. You don't have to be a sole proprietor. You don't have to do all of this. You are self-employed. You have a home-based business.
Now, EIN, for those who don't know, and I don't want to insult anyone out there that you don't know, but is your employee identification number.
Or a tax ID number.
Or a tax ID number. You have either or.
Mm-hmm.
Or
yes. No, you don't need it. Your Social Security number is your EIN.
So everything comes to you in caps because you're considered a corporation.
A corporation.
Now, the only thing that you shouldn't be capping is on Facebook, because when you do that, that means you're yelling and you're screaming at people. I didn't even know that there was an etiquette for this.
I learned that recently too.
So my grandkids, they say, "Grandma, you talking about taxes? Now you done got off topic." I just had to throw that in there.
The other thing I want to throw in there concerning the Schedule C is that the mortgages, okay? People got a rude awakening last year when they filed their taxes and they had a mortgage, and they were usually using their home as one of the big deductions.
Right, you can't do that anymore.
Yes, you can.
Can you?
If you come to us.
Oh.
Because there's a way to go ahead and get those deductions applied and get accredited. Because you have to, just by inputting, the interest and the property taxes where you normally put it, it will not change your refund unless you put it somewhere else.
Okay, that's the secret.
That's the secret.
Of One Stop.
Of One Stop.
So you have to go there.
What makes us an outlier, I'm going to tell you, because a lot of people, it was a rude awakening because they use their home. That's their big deduction. The kids are gone. They don't have that EIC, Earned Income Credit anymore. And so now they just have their home.
Right.
And so all of a sudden that was taken away, but it really wasn't taken away. It's just you needed to know what to do.
Now, is it true if you buy a car at the end of the year or at any time, can you claim that?
It depends on if you're using that car for business. Now, I have my Escalade out there that I put a sign on.
Oh, okay.
I ride around with a sign on it. Okay, I use that for my business. Okay, you just can't buy a car and people say, well, can I use this? Now you can use the gas, okay, or mileage if you used your car for your business, yourself. Say you went to a Tupperware party, or you went to an Avon party, or even you drove to North Carolina with your car.
Right.
You stayed in a hotel.
Mhm.
You went to a convention. Okay, and then you came back. You had meals and so forth. All of that, and see, Avon will teach their people. All of that is a tax write-off.
Now, it is
Not
important.
all of a certain percentage. Sorry.
But it is important that you keep some records now.
Well, you keep records.
Right, that,
Yes.
that if you are spending gas, you have receipts.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
they,
you
and they
have
teach you
a
that.
book
Mhm.
that when you use it, that you're putting the abdominal readings and where you went and the
Yes, ma'am.
date.
And we teach our folks that.
Right, so, because sometimes people do have a business, but they're sloppy. They're sloppy.
Yes, we teach our folks, our clients, to keep receipts, okay, and to add them up at the end of the year. If not, then we can do that. But also, we keep a record. We have a record, and once we establish that record, if nothing changed and so forth, we keep that record, and they don't have to keep on doing the receipts over and over and over, unless they, it dropped down or went up or so forth.
All right, now we talked about a few laws. One law had already changed in 2017. What are some of the new laws that affect people with taxes?
The qualified business individual deduction, that's the QBI deductions. And that's last year it was taxed on 100% of the profits. Let's just say in 2020, now that we're filing, it's 80% of the profits are taxed. So let me give you an example. If you had a profit, we're talking about profits now, you have the business and you had profits of 80%, for example, then that means that, well, actually 20% is taken off instead of being taxed on the whole, say $20,000. Say if you had $20,000 profit, you're now, they take off the 20% and now you're taxed at the, say if you had 100,000, now you're only taxed at 80%.
As
They took
opposed
off
to
the 100% in previous years.
So that's one of the new laws.
That's one of the laws there, and so that's for folks who, like I said, has businesses. But this QBID is not for C corps, but it's only for like you have a sole proprietorship, okay. You have an S corp, partnership, DBAs, and self-employment, like we was talking about the Schedule C people, self-employment. Then it's for those folks. The tax laws benefit business owners. So if you conduct business, then you should take advantage of this law. Because as I said, they're changing the laws every year to benefit businesses more and more, not necessarily too much individuals.
All right, now let me ask you this. I don't know what this is called, and I do know, but I can't, it's escaping me right now. People who receive money after a person has passed away. Estate tax.
Yes.
That's very high. Or has there been any changes in the estate tax
No,
laws?
not very much. No.
So how can people get around that? Because it's very expensive for you to pay taxes on an estate tax. Is there any laws toward that?
No, because that's state.
Oh.
That's state.
That's state, not federal.
That's not federal.
That's high.
It is high. It is high. So you're talking about state, and states usually get their money. They're going to get their money one way or the other.
Okay,
It's
so
just
there's
like
no
property
help.
tax and so forth. Yes.
No help in that.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No,
All right.
No, okay.
Well, I was trying to help the people out.
Yeah, I know.
Because I read an article about someone who had received this, and the money that they got, by the time they finished paying the taxes, they didn't hardly have anything left.
Yes. I want to talk about actually the standard deductions, that everybody takes, that's standardized. Everybody get this, but it went up slightly. I just want to say that standard deductions, it did go up slightly.
When you say standard, come on.
Okay, which means you get to pay less taxes for those who don't itemize. So some people select to do the standard. And
No
I think
itemization.
No itemization. So,
Right.
So you can either itemize or accept the standard deduction.
Right.
Okay, and I'm saying that if you don't itemize and you do the standard deduction, take that went up a little bit more, which means that they made it more an incentive to not itemize. That's what I'm saying. So let's just say most folks are come under the standard, because if you made about, let's just say $500,000, then you want to itemize, okay? Because the standard deduction is not going to really help you.
But if you made
for the normal
$50,000,
$50,000, you want to accept the standard deduction, especially if you're doing an EIC, earned income credit. Then just take the standard, okay? Because it keeps going up. Okay, as far as since Donald Trump has been, it's been going up.
Yeah, well, I want to say President Donald Trump. Because, if it was Barack, I would say President Barack Obama. Yes. So President Donald Trump made it a little, so you get an extra 10 cents.
Yeah. Extra 10 cents.
I don't see it. They said it's a savings. Everybody's going to see something extra in their check because the taxes went down. So you're looking for this large,
No.
It's not going to be, but it is still a savings.
Well, what happens is that they take it, they take it away, they give it, and they take it away. They give it and they take it away. So you have to know the tax laws and to know how to keep on having them give you rather than they take. And that's what we do. We learn the tax laws to make sure we maximize your refund and keep it going up rather than going down.
Keep it going up.
Yes, ma'am.
Instead of going down.
Correct. Your medical deductions stayed the same as last year. It is 10% of your total income. Therefore, it must exceed that 10%. We talked about that earlier, and I thought you were talking about something else. But let's just say if you had a lot of medical expenses, okay, you're in the hospital most of the year, you had some strokes or whatever, but it did not exceed 10% of your total income or adjusted income, just a gross income, then you cannot, it won't benefit you.
But if you have exceeded that amount.
Yes, ma'am. Then that's when it exceeds. That's when you can take that benefit.
Like sometimes the insurance, I had to guess on that, the insurance didn't cover certain things.
Correct.
So they had to come out of pocket.
That's correct.
And pay for whatever the medical was.
Yes.
So if you exceed that amount.
Yes, ma'am. 10%.
10% of your gross income.
Yes.
Then that is a deduction for that.
Yes, ma'am. You can actually then apply that. You can take that deduction.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about this because we only have a few minutes. If a person owes, most of the time when people owe, they wait till the last day to file, which is April 15th, right?
Yes.
April 15th. If you owe money, you have up to April the 15th to pay that money before, I guess, interest.
Yes.
All right.
And if you do not owe, you have until October 15th.
If you do not owe, you have until October 15th. So some people don't file their taxes for whatever reason, like they're using it like a savings. But if you don't file it by October the 15th, then you don't get it.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that if you have plenty of time to, what'll happen is the IRS will do your taxes for you if you don't file by October 15th.
What do you mean they're doing?
Yes, they do them every year. What I'm saying is that, and they'll make sure you owe, okay? Because what happens is that that's for folks who don't file. The IRS is still, because what's happening is that the companies are sending in your W-2. They're sending in that 1099 to the IRS, and the IRS receives those documents and do your taxes for you, right? And they make sure that you owe them. I don't know anybody that has not done their taxes for years and received a refund every year.
Yeah.
Have you heard of anybody getting a refund that didn't do their taxes?
Well, there's very few.
I mean, what I'm saying is didn't file at all.
Right.
For years and kept getting a refund every year.
No.
That's my point.
Oh, no.
That's my point. I'm saying that if the IRS does your taxes, they're not going to make sure that you get a refund. They're not going to do your taxes to make sure you get a refund.
No, so it's your responsibility if you want the refund.
If you want the refund, and to make sure you maximize all of the deductions and so forth. What we tell people is this, is that come to us. If you think you owe the IRS, please come to us. Because apparently you are leaving money on the table that you're not aware of.
Do not leave money on the table.
Things about to get pretty bad.
Okay.
Okay, and that's just a prognostication. It's not a prophecy. Okay, but it's just that we are way past the 9 to 10 year average crash of the stock market. We're 13 years in. And so what's happening is that the bubble keeps getting bigger. It's not if we have a crash, it's when.
So you have to prepare.
You have to prepare. That's what we do. We're trying to tell our people to
got to prepare. You got to
So-
prepare.
Correct. So don't start, just be careless about leaving money on the table. No, get as much as you can and then utilize as much as you can.
Right.
The right way. Because people get $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. I've gotten folks $10,000, $13,000.
Now,
Okay.
if you owe like a 1099, some people get 1099s, right? At the end of the year, instead of waiting till the end of the year to pay the taxes,
Come to us.
all right, you can start paying for some of that so it's not too hard on you.
Well, even if they get the 1099, we will make sure that every expense, because it's not just the 1099, it's because apparently you had expenses.
Right.
So you got to come to us and we'll work those expenses out to make sure that you don't have to pay.
Listen, Dr. Thelma wants y'all to take the money off the table. Don't leave your money on the table. Okay?
Amen.
That's why I don't
Amen.
want you to leave your money on the table.
Amen.
And so there are a lot of laws out there. You got to educate yourself to make sure that you are maximizing your income and you're getting your money back and not holding it and giving it to the government. Okay? That's what I don't want you to do in 2020 and going forward. So I want you to leave some information. How can people contact you if they wanted to contact you?
Yes, I'm going to give our number. Our number is 609-241-6964. That's 609-241-6964. That's our office number. They can contact or come into our office. We have a beautiful office there. You've been there to our office. And we're at 927 North Main Street, Suite B1, in Heritage Square there, near Lincoln, right next to Lincoln Medical, right near the corner of Delilah and North Main.
And North Main.
And we are open from 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. On Saturday, we are open from 10 to 3.
Are you only in that location or you have another location?
No, we did have a Vineland location. We closed that down.
Okay.
We only have this location. But you can just call us, or actually you can go and submit your documents to my email address, which is Bernard, BERNERD, period, McCain, MCCAIN, at myonestoptaxes.com.
Thank you so much. Did you enjoy our program today?
I did.
I know you did. Thanks for tuning in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon, right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. Don't forget, Sunday Super Bowl buffet. And that's going to be held on February 2nd at the Beacon Hall, 243 South St. Louis Avenue in Egg Harbor City. The donation is $20. Call us at 609-641-8870 or go to our website, www.wehavegospel.com/events. I hope that you have a wonderful, safe Dr. Martin Luther King holiday on this weekend. Don't forget, never look down on anyone unless you're trying to pick them up. All right, that's Dr. King. I love you all. Thank you for supporting me in the community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. Keep those dials locked to WEHA, and we'll see you on next week.